people reached out about wanting me to put together a video to see exactly how you set up wickets. Did a quick 90-second video on Instagram. Going to go through the full thing today. First of all, what I want you to understand is even though wickets can be set up for a certain speed level, it takes so much more to get to that speed level than just setting up wickets. If you're going to go from an 11.6 to an 11.3, setting up wickets is just one part of the equation. The athlete has to get stronger. The athlete's neuromuscular system has to get a little sharper. Either way, wickets are one tool to get you there. It's not the only tool, and it should be one of the things you use in a series of a week's worth of work to get your athlete to run a faster time. Not the only thing, one of the many things that you do. You always want about a 10-meter build-up, acceleration, drive phase into that first wicket. So what I typically do to keep it simple is start all of mine at the 110 hurdle meter mark. I then start to measure my wickets at the 100-meter mark. Simple way, you don't even have to think about it. I always do them on the same side of the track. Put one cone down at the 110 hurdles, and I'll put the second cone, which is where I'll start to measure my wickets, at the 100-meter mark, which is here. Now what I'll do is simply measure 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, and then once I get up to 6, I kind of stay there for a little bit so the athlete can pick up the rhythm. 6, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 7, 7.5, and so forth. Now you know your athletes. If you have a beginning athlete that's just really learning the whole concept of wickets, maybe do 2 4s, 2 4.5s, 2 5s. This year I came to a new school, I'm training new athletes, and that's exactly what I did. I did 2 4 steps, 2 4.5s, 2 5s, and I'll show you how to do it. This is how I start a lot of my beginning high schoolers. 1, 2, 3, 4. That hurdle is at the toe of my foot. That's 4 steps. The second one is going to be 4.5. Bringing it back. My heel is directly touching my toe. So I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to use this hurdle to split my foot in half for 4.5 steps. It's right there. The next hurdle is going to be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Using that foot, this hurdle is going to be at the tip of my foot. So that's 5 steps. Going again, I'm doing 5.5 now. From the hurdle, not your last step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm using this hurdle to split my foot in half. For 5.5. Next one is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's here. If an athlete is new to this, it might be a challenge for them to increase a half step every hurdle. So once I get to 6 with my new athletes, I'll sometimes double the step. So the next one will be another 6 step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We did 2 6 steps. Now we're going 2 6.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My foot is splitting that 7 in half. So that's the way you do the wickets. When I get towards the end, I keep the same amount of steps. It's going to be really difficult for your athlete to keep reaching. If they're just learning how to apply force into the ground, if they're just learning how to do proper sprint mechanics, it might be tough for them to keep putting force into the ground and extending that step like you do on wickets. The reason why wickets are so great is because if you land your foot right under you, you'll produce a great amount of force. That will then throw you forward a little bit more each step, which is why these steps increase by a half each time. So as they get faster, these steps are going to have to get further so they can continue to run fast. However, there is a point where they'll hit their limit in how fast they can go. And so that's when the wicket has to remain constant. That's when that step does not get higher than 7 or 7.5 or 8 or 8.5. For my beginner runners, I never go over 7 or 7.5. What I will do is give them a 15-meter run out after that last wicket. So I'll show you. So now what we have is a series of wickets set up for high school athletes or for distance athletes, starting at 4 and increasing all the way up to 7. The last 2 hurdles are at 7. The last 2 before that are at 6.5. And each one of them after that increases starting at 4 by a half foot each time. After I finish the last hurdle, I want to see if the athlete can maintain those sprint mechanics on their own. So this is really important to me. I will always put about a 10 to 15 meter run out after to make sure they can continue to keep that form. And I go ballistic when they do not run through the cone. So I'm going to show you where I now put a 15-meter cone so they can continue to run after they finish the wickets. As you see, my last 3 wickets are ending here. I'm now going to measure out about 15 meters and go to the end. So every mark on the track is 10 meters apart, generally speaking. So we're at about 5 meters there. What I'm going to do is start at that yellow line. There's a yellow line. I'm going to put the cone at the next yellow line. That'll give me about 10, 15 meters. That's where my last wicket hurdle ends. That green cone is where I will make sure my athletes run through. When you see an athlete finally complete a set of wickets in a beautiful way and run through the cone, it really does bring you a little bit of joy, especially if you're a coach like me. If you have an athlete that back kicks, they will almost always kick up the back hurdle. If you have an athlete that reaches, they will almost always reach the front hurdle. And so that's why wickets are such a great exercise. They really keep you straight up and down, running with appropriate sprint mechanics. If the wickets are too short, an athlete will look like they're just hopping in place. And if they're too long, an athlete will feel like they're reaching. But the important thing is they have to run that 10 meters out. If they don't get into this wicket drill with a good run, they won't have enough force applied into the ground to make the hurdles anyway. So many times if they don't start out, I'll call them back. There's no way they're going to be able to do the drill if they're not running into it. That's why you have to have that 10-meter acceleration run into it. If they hit a hurdle, always tell them if they can't recover, just move to the side so they don't completely destroy my drill. And it happens, right? A kid will hit a hurdle, a few kids will hit hurdles, but it's all a part of the learning process. It's all a part of them learning to fix the mechanics and run well. Please let me know if you have any questions, but this is your wicket drill simplified for high school and distance runners.
Get him! Get him, Jordan!
I really don't know.
Me, Luis, Amber from it.
Amber?
You know what I mean.